situation on the ground is catastrophic in Gaza. And it's catastrophic because there's no food, there's no water, there's no fuel. Everyone's heard what's going on in that respect. But in the case of food, we haven't been able to get our trucks in. We've gotten a dribble of trucks in. We need to get a large amount in. We need safe, unfettered access into Gaza so that we can feed and make sure that people don't starve to death, because that's what's happening. Look, I don't care who gets the credit. We just need to get our trucks in. Because that's what this is about. It's not about who gets the credit in my mind. It's about getting the food in. We have a large amount of trucks waiting at the gate that are loaded with food. I know the question has been, well, how will it wind up in the hands of Hamas? We've been in Gaza for years, WFP has, and we have people on the ground. That's all they do, is make sure that the food goes to where it's supposed to go. So I can tell you we have the systems in place, we have certainly our people in place, we have other methods to make sure that our cash-based transfers indeed go to exactly who they're supposed to go to. But it's a war zone. Things are going to happen. And so I can't say 100% that nothing's going to wind up in the hands of the bad guys. There's no 100% guarantee, but we are doing our very best. And what I say to these folks is if you don't want to give funding to people who are starving to death, then do it for national security. This is a national security issue. And so we can think of it in two ways. But mass migration is not something Europe wants, nor does Jordan or or Egypt, any of the neighboring countries around there. And so this is, if we can feed them for now right where they're at, that's what we need to be doing. I have not spoken to the Israelis. I have spoken to the Egyptians, and of course I've spoken to our U.S. diplomats as a result of this, but I've not spoken to the Israelis. The important thing to remember is we just need to get the flow going. Prior to the war, there were over 400 trucks a day going through that Rafah gate. So we know it can be done. And we just want to make sure that they understand that and the desperation that's happening as a result of no food. It's a terrible situation. And guess, who takes the brunt of this? Again, women and children, as it usually is.
The scale of that need, there's an estimate for how much funding, sort of emergency funding, is going to be needed?
So the process is the bureaucracy is insane. And so we're asking for, to please, this is humanitarian, we're asking to please allow us to go in a way that we can get enough food in to try to feed people. And make it a little bit easier to do so. I understand why checks and balances are in place. I do understand, and I'm not suggesting not to do that. But we can think there's got to be better ways to do this.
We're also subject to all the
same things. Yes, yeah. Our staff is safe for right now. We're sending in emergency rations. This is food that can be eaten immediately, that does not need to be cooked. So it's high energy, it's high protein, high calories, for folks who are really having a hard time. As far as I know, we're safe. We are seeing the funding drop, and it's worldwide. There's a bit of donor fatigue out there. The year before was way up, and in large part due to Ukraine. But our large countries they're fatigued on this. They want to, they have constituents to answer to as well, and the constituents are saying don't give as much, and so we're fighting a little bit of everything on this. So it's my job to remind those countries and their parliaments of not only the need but the incredible need right now, because it's worldwide now.
Falling into the hands of Hamas militants.
Sure.
Is that something you're hearing a lot here in Washington?
Just to get to the end of the year, we need $100 million for this. I have spoken, obviously, to Capitol Hill about it. I've spoken to many countries about this. But with that said, this $100 million, we still have a whole other part of the world that's dependent on food, emergency food, as well as long-term feeding. And we cannot forget them. We have to remember that there are other countries that are in desperate needs as well. So I realize, that right now this is on the news, but I'd like to remind people the world is really on fire right now.
الله هذا كسر من الضيق هذا كسر من الضيق
untouchable moments.